is Joy News Prime.
You're welcome to another edition of Joy News Prime here on Joy News on Multi TV. My name is Israel. Coming up, 14 judges and magistrates implicated in corruption scandal at the judiciary go to court to challenge disciplinary processes against them. President Mahama's image will be featured on the ballot paper in the NDC's November 7 presidential and parliamentary primaries, despite being the sole contender for the party's flagbearership race. Communications Director of the NPP explains recommendations by the party's Council of Elders for the national chairman to be sanctioned may not necessarily lead to expulsion.
And in business with me, Abigail Adumakuenchi, government likely to begin Eurobond roadshow later this month after an initial postponement. We'll also tell you the IMF's position on the need for parliamentary approval.
Abigail will be here with all the details in the next 30 minutes. Also in the bulletin, managers of the Student Loan Trust are being asked to increase the maximum loan amounts beneficiaries can take due to the increasing cost of education. There'll also be entertainment, sports, international news, and our social media interactive segment, Joy News Interactive. Stay tuned as we bring you all you need to know over the next 2 hours. Now, our first story, some 14 circuit court judges and magistrates implicated in the recent expose by ace investigative journalist Anas Anas have initiated legal actions, say the action by the Chief Justice, Georgina Wood, is unlawful and without due process. Represented by Charles Kwesi Bentum, giving enough time to respond after they were served letters of suspension on September 8. And Elton John Brobe has been following the story and now joins me in the studio with details of this petition by the circuit court judges. Good evening to you, Elton.
Good evening.
So virtually all day you've been at the Supreme Court where
yes,
the proceedings are supposed to be taking place.
Yeah.
Tell us what has been going on as far as this process, this sanctioning process is so far.
Well, it started in the morning and the judges came in with their lawyers, and one after the other, they were called to come and watch the video.
So these are the 22.
These are the 22.
Lower, the inferior court judges.
Yeah, inferior court judges. Yeah. Okay. So they came in with their lawyers. They went to the room. They met the investigative team headed by Justice Sophia Adinina, the Supreme Court judge. And then the other members are Victor Gbeho, who is representing the president on this particular committee, Joe Bichim, former president of the GBA, and 2 others. And this is the committee of the Chief Justice, so their duty is to establish a case against the judges, make recommendation to the Chief Justice, and the Chief Justice will follow because the Chief Justice has jurisdiction over the lower courts.
Okay. For
the High Court judges, that is the decision for the President to make. The President has taken the first step by informing the CJ to go ahead and investigate their conduct in the allegation leveled against them by Anas Anas. The next step will be to establish a case against them. But within the ambit of the Chief Justice, he has every right to prefer sanctions against the judges identified in the video, and that's what happened today.
Right, so today they went in, they watched the video, and then what's the next step?
And then the first information that came out, 3 acquitted and discharged. These are judges in the circuit court, one from Prisia in the Western region, Tepa in the Ashanti region, and then another person. Now, the information I got from their lawyer, John Indebugri, was to the effect that in relation to the one from Prisia in the Western region, it was a case of a mistaken identity. First, Anas in the video had said that this particular judge served as the judge in the Kaswa Circuit Court, and it was around that time that he took the said amount. Now, when the judge appeared before the investigative committee and was asked, it became abundantly clear that he had at any point in time served as supervising circuit court judge at Kaswa, and that the person in the video attributed to him by name was not him before the committee. So the committee had no option than to acquit him and discharge him and let him go. The other person is alleged to have taken 1,000 Ghana cedis. When they went through the chronology of events, it came to light that even at the time that he was alleged of taking the money, he was not even in town. And it also became clear that indeed it was also an issue of a mistaken identity, so he was also asked to go. The fourth person, I'm told, they are not so clear on his status now. He has been asked to come back on Tuesday so that the committee can continue. But for now, he's been acquitted but not discharged yet.
All right. So now, at what point did the 14 other judges implicated in this thing come out to state that they have reservations about the process?
They went in with their lawyer, John Ndebugri, and about 8 lawyers. Now, before they went, that made their intentions clear that we're going to challenge the procedure because, in their estimation, it is not being done right. It is against the principles of national justice, and indeed, the committee constituted by the Chief Justice has no right to investigate in this particular matter. Was
this before they got to see the video or after?
Before, because as a matter of one of the issues they are claiming is that even though their clients have responded to the allegation against them, they were never privy to the video before they responded to the allegation. So they responded to something they had not watched, and that is one of the issues.
So do we have the names of these 14?
Yes, we have the names, and the names are Emmanuel Kofi Sonu. These are circuit court judges and magistrates. Emmanuel Kofi Sonu, Benjamin Barima Osei, Kojo Felsem, Seram Chachu Azuma Isaac, Akwate Florence Nempens, Jacob Amponsa, Alfred K. Mensa, Albert Zuga, Isaac Amwa. Also, Michael Jemfibuama, Paul Alhassan, Stephen Azuri, and William Bafo. They are all based in Accra, and they are up against the Judicial Council in their investigation into this particular matter.
All right, so we're going to be making the names available. We're going to be posting them on our Facebook wall, so you can get there and get to see what exactly these persons and the names of these persons. So what's next?
So what they are seeking the court to do, really, they are yet to move to the position where they may even have to injunct the whole process. And I'm hearing that they may injunct even the premiering of this video until this particular matter is thoroughly dealt with. They are seeking a declaration that the disciplinary proceedings by the Judicial Council against the judges is contrary to law or due process. And then the second declaration is that the panel constituted by the Chief Justice to institute disciplinary proceedings against the judges has no legal basis and therefore null and void. Now, if you go to the statement of claims, this is where they are raising issues about due process. According to them, they were never given the chance to appropriately respond to the issues in question. First, they are saying that they were given letters on the 8th of September. When they checked, the letter dated 4th of September was given to them on the 8th of September. On the 8th of September, when they read the letter, they were told to respond that same day. Now, to give respect to the judiciary, they responded that same particular day. And that same particular day, they were asked to go on suspension. And the letter that came to them announcing their suspension was to the effect that they had responded and the committee had taken a decision on them, which had not happened.
Okay.
So they think that not due process was not followed.
The process the process is defective.
Yes. And the secondly, they are raising issue about whether it is a summary or formal, charge that they are going to. Because according to them, they were in no circumstance entitled to be informed whether the proceedings against them were to be summary or formal in accordance with law. And then they are also contending that, as far as the penalty attached to the misconduct against them depends on whether the proceedings were summary or formal, the judges were entitled to be informed of the nature of the proceedings being sued against them. This has not been done.
Okay.
And the key on the constitution of the investigative body, their issue is that as far as the power to conduct disciplinary proceedings against the plaintiff is by law vested in a judge of the High Court or some judicial office appointed for the purpose by the Chief Justice, the current disciplinary committee is bereft of jurisdiction to investigate this plaintiff. And some people have argued that the person who is chairing this particular is a Supreme Court judge. So really, it is answered in the statement they themselves have put forth. Yeah, so easy. Okay. These are the issues, and they are also contesting the suspension. They think that it was done in bad faith, and they don't deserve to be treated the way they've been treated.
All right, thank you very much, Elton John Brobe. He has been following the processes that have been ongoing at the Supreme Court as far as disciplinary action or the exposure of corruption in the judiciary is concerned. Now, the police administration has actually made comments referring in this particular case. Now, we have a statement signed by the Director General of Public Affairs Department, Reverend David Nenyi Ampa Benning, Deputy Commissioner of Police, and I'm going to read it to you, and then we'll get onto the phone line and speak to the police about it. It says, the police administration is taking note of recent developments in the judiciary service of the allegation of corruption against some judges and some judicial staff, and is in touch with the Attorney General's office on the matter. We have on the phone line now DSP Cephas Superintendent Cephas Arthur. He's joining us on the phone line to give us a bit more insight into this thing. Good evening to you, Superintendent Cephas Arthur.
Yeah, good evening, Israel.
All right, so I just want to understand what exactly the police means by the statement that you've put out.
Thank you. Just what it means on the surface of it, that the police have also heard about what is happening. That is the allegation of corruption in the judiciary. And as the attack time, we will take any requisite action. So it is just to assure the general public that the police are not asleep as far as those developments are concerned, and that we are alive. And as and when the need arises, we, together with our parent body, that's Attorney General's office, will discharge our duties as expected of us.
All right, you talk about discharging your duties. What exactly will these duties entail? Are you looking at arresting the judges who have been implicated? Should you be directed as such?
You know, police work on advice most of the cases, especially in cases of criminality, from the Attorney General's office. That is why we say acts of criminality. It involves investigation, gathering evidence, and then forwarding docket to the Attorney General's office for advice. That is why we are in touch with them. Including
possible arrest of these people who have been implicated, you mean?
Oh, well, what logical conclusion? As per the advice of the Attorney General's office, we shall undertake our mandate.
All right, thank you very much, Superintendent Cephas Arthur, Director of Public Relations of the Police Service, giving us some insight as to this particular statement that's coming from the police, suggesting that they've taken notes of the allegations of corruption against some judges and some judicial staff. And as he indicated, they will take the appropriate action as and when they have been advised. We're taking a break at this point, but there's more coming up in the bulletin. Please stay tuned. You're watching Joy News Prime, and thank you very much for staying with us. Now, the Communications Director of the New Patriotic Party says recent recommendations of disciplinary action against the party's national chairman does not amount to an automatic sanction, as has been misconstrued by a section of the media. The NPP's Council of Elders, in a letter addressed to the national chairman, Paul Afoko, asked that he be made to step aside for flouting some of the party's guidelines. Director of Communications, Nana Komia, however, explains to Joy News the proposed sanction is only a recommendation at this point and that Mr. Afoko may be exonerated.
No, the national chairman of the NPP has not been suspended. The National Council of Elders does not have the authority to suspend anybody. The procedure in the party is that if you believe that a member of the party has misconducted themselves and brought the party's name into disrepute, there's a procedure. The procedure is that you put your complaint into writing and any evidence that you have, and you send it to the National Disciplinary Committee. It is the National Disciplinary Committee that will go into your petition, look at your complaints, examine your evidence. Of course, it has to go by natural justice. Speak to yourself to allow you to present your evidence and your story. he will speak to the person that a complaint has been made against, and then at the end of the day, the disciplinary committee will take a decision. They may decide that looking at the nature of the complaint and the evidence, they didn't think that there was any need for any sanctions, and that the complaints do not amount to misconduct. Or they may believe that after examining the complaint and the evidence and speaking to everybody, they believe that there's a case for misconduct, in which case they will recommend sanctions. The sanctions they may recommend, the National Disciplinary Committee, may include suspension, or they may include expulsion. We have to wait till the end of the process to know how the party feels. As to your concern that Afoko has a large following, well, if he engages in misconduct, and I haven't said he's guilty of misconduct, but if, assuming he engages in misconduct, or anybody engages in misconduct, like I engage in misconduct, you will still be sanctioned.
Well, the spokesperson of the national chairman of the NPP says Mr. Paul Afoko is ready to meet with the party's disciplinary committee to respond to the allegations leveled against him by the party's Council of Elders. The party's National Council of Elders recommended in a 7-page letter to the party's disciplinary committee the steps be taken to suspend Paul Afoko until at least after the 2016 general elections. Speaking to Joy News earlier, spokesperson for Mr. Afoko, Barima Osei, said the party chairman is ready and willing to appear before the disciplinary committee should he be invited. Staying with politics, President John Mahama will still have his face on a ballot paper during the November 7 presidential and parliamentary primaries of the National Democratic Congress, despite being the only candidate to have successfully filed his nomination to contest the flag bearership of the party. This was after the only other contender, George Boateng, failed to complete the nomination process. General Secretary Johnson Sidun Ketia disclosed this at a media briefing in Accra on Friday.
As at the close of day yesterday, we had only one presidential candidate filing to contest the elections. But contrary to what happens with the parliamentary elections, in the case of the presidential elections, even if one candidate filed, he cannot be declared unopposed. We still have to go through the elections and to ensure ourselves that the presidential candidate will garner more than 50% of the votes before he or she can be declared the duly elected presidential candidate of the party. We will be meeting. I don't think, speaking for myself, I don't think there will be any big need. But since that is the law, the decision would have to be taken by the National Executive and not me as a person.
He stated the party will in the coming days begin the vetting of parliamentary aspirants who managed to file their nominations before the September 10 deadline. The party puts the total number of aspirants at 689, excluding those in the Ashanti region, where the closing date has been extended. The General Secretary ever explains the vetting process is being varied this time around, with all the aspirants expected to be vetted at the national level.
First, we allow the constituencies to do the first vetting, generate a short list, which will then be sent to the national. It will be sent to the region. The region will further process, and if there is a need to drop some of them, they will drop them. Then their final list from the region will be sent to national, and then national will also do their own vetting. We are about to take a decision that this year we will do a one-stop shop vetting. That is, we will deploy teams into the various regions, and then we will invite the respective constituency executives and the respective regional executives, and then the national team that goes will join them, and then they will do the vetting. And after a list has been generated out of this, it will be deemed to have been approved by the National Executive Committee, whereupon balloting for places on the ballot paper will be done. And then they will know themselves and will go and embark upon their campaign.
Meanwhile, Defense Minister Benjamin Kufuor and current Member of Parliament for Nandom will not be seeking re-election come 2016. Though the MP picked forms to contest the parliamentary primaries of the National Democratic Congress in the constituency, the forms had not been returned at the close of filing of nominations on Thursday. Also out of the parliamentary list is the soft-spoken Member of Parliament for Dafiama Busie Isa constituency, Matthias Poza. Rafiq Salam report 34 aspirants in all, including 3 women, filed their nominations to contest the NDC's parliamentary primaries in the Upper West region.
Upper West Regional Minister Ahmed Suleimani is again expected to lead the NDC parliamentary campaign in the region in 2016 to at least maintain the party's impressive record in the region in 2012 when it won 10 out of the 11 seats there. However, before he leads the party to the battleground, he has a major hurdle to cross first. He must defeat 52-year-old businesswoman Habana Abu Azantulo, who filed to contest him in the primaries.
There are only 3 communities in Sisala West without electricity. If those communities are connected, that is Fana, Sangbaka, and Kuni. Every other community in this district is connected to the national grid. And this is what somebody who has foresight, somebody who has connections, and that is your MP. I have the connections. I know the people. I have worked with them. We have been working together for so many years, and that is how we get these things done. They're not just done because they have to be done.
In the West Central constituency, 4 contestants have filed to contest the incumbent, Dr. Rashid Hassan Pelpo. They include public health specialist and deputy Upper West Regional Minister, Dr. Musaibu Mohamed Alpha, Accra-based legal practitioner, Abdul Wahid Bampuru Idris, Tamale-based polytechnic lecturer, Kukuro Jamal Dean, and former Upper West Regional Director of Education, Idris Mahama. The keenest contest in the Upper West region is expected in the Noduru Keleo constituency, where former administrator of the War Regional Hospital, Roger Gale, is renewing his political rivalry against majority leader and incumbent member of parliament, Alban Sumana Kinsport Babu.
Now I am called a Mugabe. It is not easy to become a...
In the northern region, an engineer at the Department of Feeder Roads of the Ministry of Roads and Highways, Alhaji Ibrahim Seidu, successfully filed his nomination on Thursday to contest Sector Minister Alhaji Inusa Fuseni in the Tamale Central constituency primaries of the National Democratic Congress. The completion of the process sets the stage for a very keen contest between the two come November.
Hundreds of supporters of the NDC in the Tamale Central constituency formed a massive procession to the party office. The Department of Feeder Roads engineer is in the race with the incumbent Member of Parliament for Tamale Central, Alhaji Inusa Fuseni, who is also the Minister of Roads and Highways. Addressing the media shortly after filing his nomination forms to challenge his boss, Engineer Alhaji Ibrahim Seidu called for fairness in the electoral process.
Let us embark on a clean campaign, devoid of agreements, intimidation, and revenge. We should not insist on an eye for an eye, because an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind.
Constituency Secretary of the party, Abu Hafiz, told Joy News the party executives did not invite the police. However, he believes they showed up to maintain law and order.
There was heavy security presence at the party office, but the constituency secretary Abu Hafiz explained was the initiative of the police. He said the executives will closely scrutinize the nomination forms of the candidates. Meanwhile, in other areas, Gushegu District Chief Executive Alhaji Al-Hassan Fuseni filed nominations to contest the parliamentary primary against the incumbent Thomas Nessan. Ace broadcaster with Radio Gold, Al-Hassan Suhini, will also contest Alhaji Bubakari Sumani, the former MP for Tamale North, with 7 other candidates.
In the Central Region, 3 of the 70 people who picked the NDC's nomination forms to contest the party's parliamentary primaries were able to file their nominations successfully. Amongst the 67 is a brother of the late President John Evans Atta Mills.
One key constituency that will be a center of attraction is the KEEA constituency, where the brother of the late president, Dr. Samuel Mills, is hoping to be given the nod on the ticket of the NDC in the constituency. Addressing party faithful after filing his forms, Dr. Samuel Mills has been speaking about what he has to offer the constituency.
I have been in the party for a long time. I have been around a president who had KEEA at his heart. This is where we grew up. I have spoken to the previous MPs that we had over here. There were things that they were wanted to improve. Look, Dr. J.S. was very instrumental in bringing the Commander Sugar Factory back. If you look at most of the development in KEA, it was done by Dr. Atokwashi. Those are some of the things that I am coming to continue and to make sure I improve on it. Yes, I am uniquely qualified because I am qualified. I have the knowledge, I have the understanding. Look, I am bringing 4 things to the table. First one is my integrity, and you can count on my integrity. No questions about it. The second one that I'm bringing is my courage. I'm very courageous, and when you delve into my background, you find out I'm courageous. I take decisions, the rightful decisions. I'm also vulnerable. When I don't know it, I don't know it, and I can assemble the rightful people around me to make those decisions. And at least being present, that is something that goes with our integrity. We are not the kind of people that when you vote for us, we get on radio stations in Accra. Being on a radio station in Accra does not make you an MP for a region. You have to be in the region. You have to be in the district. That is where the job is. Not staying on radios in Accra. I'm from here. I have a house in Kisi. I have a house in Ataba, Esaman Junction. I have a farm out there. If this place doesn't improve, won't that affect me? I am here. And those are the 4 qualities that I have, that I have proven in business, in everything that I've done, that I'm bringing to the table. At least, what I did about 3-4 years ago was to set up an educational fund where I contributed 10,000 Ghana cedis for them to use as scholarships for needy families. I did that about 3-4 years ago. That is my contribution to education. We can do more of this. Let's educate people. It is so unfortunate that we have so many bright kids, but because of 1 or 2 reasons, because of funds, they cannot go to school. That is why I'm so much interested in education.
Of the 67 persons that have successfully filed, 10 are women, 13 are incumbent MPs, 6 are Metropolitan Municipal Chief Executives, 4 are former MMDCEs, 2 are former MPs, 2 regional executives, and 4 constituency executives.
You're watching Joy News Prime, and still to come in the bulletin, former President John Kufuor has advised Ghanaians to put personal interests aside and live above themselves in order to leave a legacy for future generations. And then some fishermen in coastal communities of Keta and the Volta region are getting increasingly worried about the dwindling fortunes of their industry, to the extent they say it is robbing them of their dignity as their wives are abandoning them. We have all that still to come in the bulletin. But right up, we bring you business news with Abigail Adumakoenchi. For business news, and Abigail Adumakoenchi is here. Good evening to you, Abigail.
Good evening, Israel.
So there's been this back and forth. You know, the minority MPP in Parliament says that government should necessarily has done something wrong, you know, by taking on the disbursements of funds from the IMF without due recourse to Parliament.
Right, but the IMF is saying something else now. They do not agree, and we'll get those
essentially they agree with government. What government is saying.
Yes. Essentially.
Or probably they're just saying, okay, we don't want to talk about it. You guys should deal with your own issues.
Let's get the details in business now.
Sure.
And disbursement of IMF's loan to Ghana does not require parliamentary approval. That's the view of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, on the current concerns raised by the minority in Parliament on the loan facility. The fund's view was contained in an email sent to Joy Business from Washington, D.C. I spoke to my colleague George Yafi, who has been following this particular issue earlier.
Basically, last week, the minority in Parliament made a case I mean, they held a press conference and they argued that looking at the fact that the agreement between Ghana and IMF should come before Parliament for approval. Now, their argument was that this is a loan facility, and under the Constitution, any loan facility should come to Parliament for approval. And they cited sections in the Constitution to back their case. But yesterday, there was also a statement from the Finance Ministry insisting that this whole program with the IMF, when it comes to the loan disbursement, is an agreement between the IMF and the Bank of Ghana. Therefore, under the same Bank of Ghana Act, nothing should come to Parliament for any approval when it comes to these disbursements of these IMF funds to Ghana.
So what are the reasons the IMF is giving on why they think that a parliamentary approval...
Basically, when you go through this email that is after a question, some questions that we sent to them, first there's a caveat. Now, I tried to read a portion of it to you. It says, as a general rule, we don't comment on domestic legislative processes. In a similar vein, it's a matter of domestic law. As to whether the IMF arrangement requires parliamentary approval, we defer to the member authorities to make their determination. But in the same email, they also outline some statement that government made in the earlier release seeking to support their agreement or their case that we don't need parliamentary approval. So again, if you try to draw the inferences, and then it means that we agree with government. On the last bit of the statement also, they tried to make a case. Don't forget that what came to the fund board that they approved was this whole homegrown policy. And therefore, this was Ghana's own program that they are working with. So they also have a difficulty with this whole case being made that this whole agreement needs to come to Parliament for approval.
You have been engaging with some economists and financial consultants on this issue. What have they been saying?
I mean, it's interesting. In one breath, there are some economists who think that government has a case. Because when it comes to the loan disbursement, it's an IMF and a bank or a central bank in a respective country. Even, for instance, when you go to these annual meetings, you see that the Ministry of Finance officials work closely with the World Bank, and then the Bank of Ghana officials work closely with the IMF. So when
away from the IMF to Eurobond matters, government is now likely to begin engaging investors outside the country from September 21 on the Eurobond sale. This is the new date government is looking at after an initial meeting in London yesterday was rescheduled. The meeting should have kick-started the process for securing commitments from investors to buy the bond. But what are the likely challenges that government will face as it begins this exercise?
The exercise is expected to be led by Finance Minister Seth Terkper with support from Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Kufuor, as well as some senior officials from the Finance Ministry and the Bank of Ghana. The engagement will take the team to London, Germany, and then the US. The exercise is expected to end with government securing commitment from investors to lend it some $1.5 billion. Proceeds from the bond sale will be used to finance some projects outlined in the budget, pay investors who might want to redeem their monies after participating in the previous Eurobond auction. For some, the recent satisfactory report on Ghana's performance under the IMF program couldn't have come at a better time, especially when some believe that it could convince investors outside the country that government is committed to stabilizing the economy. Also, one cannot forget the recent $400 million guarantee secured from the World Bank to support the Eurobond auction, which could go a long way to reduce the expected interest to be paid on this loan. However, some fear that moves by the US government to start hiking interest rates as the economy recovers might affect demand for Ghana's fourth Eurobond sale.
Civil society organization Send Ghana has criticized government for failing to provide the public with a pre-budget statement in a timely manner over the years. According to the organization, this is important for an effective budget process. The country director, George Osei said this at the launch of his organization's 2015 Open Budget Survey.
Send Ghana's 2015 Open Budget Survey is an independent regular measure of budget transparency and participation in the world to make budget systems more accountable to the public to improve governance. government is currently engaging the private business associations and civil society organizations to seek their inputs into the 2016 budget. The country director, George Osei Bimpe, said a pre-budget statement is crucial for effective participation of stakeholders in the budget process.
Progress can be talked about in terms of the extent to which the key information are made available to the public, and so that the public doesn't have to wait till the executive budget is made available. So one of the key issues is to what extent do you provide opportunities for an informed and strategic public participation, and you would do well if you were able to provide pre-budget statement that basically sets out the pillars that government is already considering in the fiscal year ahead.
According to the report, Ghana, which is one of the 102 countries surveyed, continues to struggle in its quest to meet its target of 67% by 2016. The report described Ghana's performance as stagnant after a relative success between 2010 and 2014. Mr. Osei Bimpe also highlighted the late presentation of a mid-year budget review over the years as unduly depriving citizens the opportunity to make relevant inputs into the budget.
Citizens can then make that contribution on the basis of the content of the pre-budget statement. As it is now, if we do not provide the pre-budget statement or we don't make it available, citizens can make input, but oftentimes you hear a lot of emotional outpouring.
Toyota Motor Corporation, manufacturer of Toyota vehicles worldwide, has renewed its distributor agreement with Toyota Ghana Company Limited for the next 3 years. This makes Toyota Ghana the sole authorized distributor of Toyota vehicles, parts and services made purposely for the Ghanaian environment from October. The distributorship agreement makes it the first of such an agreement to be signed in Ghana, as previous ones were signed in Japan. According to the Toyota Motor Corporation, this highlights the impressive performance of Toyota Ghana in the sales and marketing of its vehicles.
In Ghana, we have been providing our vehicles only to Toyota Ghana Company Limited because they are Toyota Ghana, the sole authorized distributor by Toyota. So, only Toyota Ghana, as the sole authorized distributor in Ghana, can provide Toyota vehicles, genuine parts, and services that are the most suitable and the safest for Ghana usage environment.
For Toyota Ghana, the agreement couldn't have come at any better time in boosting their sales.
Having 3 years distributorship agreement means that the manufacturer has authorized Toyota Ghana to sell in Ghana market. And by selling in Ghana market, it means that whenever there is a need to communicate with the manufacturer over any issues, the manufacturer is ready to talk to you. It means that if there's any other company around selling Toyota vehicles, that company cannot communicate directly to the manufacturer. And you know, for vehicle sales, the most important thing is the after-sales support. And if you don't have the backing of the manufacturer, you can have challenges.
Government, while applauding the move, also tasked Toyota Motor Corporation to set up factories in partnership with Toyota Ghana for economic growth.
It is also a challenge to other private companies that are operating in this country that don't let Toyota Ghana alone take the lead. You need to also support in diverse ways. And that is why at the Ministry of Trade we have identified the need to support domestic industries, the need to support companies who are operating foreign or domestic, who are helping to create the needed jobs for the people in this country, and through that we can help the economy to grow. We would also challenge the Toyota Corporation or Motor Corporation that try, if there is the need for you to establish some of your factories here, of course in partnership with companies like Toyota Ghana, to see how best you can indeed assemble some of the parts in this country, because that will create the needed jobs we have.
Toyota Ghana adds the agreement guarantees its clients of the best vehicles because of the manufacturer's policy of calling back defective vehicles to fix them. And that'll be all for business. My name is Abigail Adomakoinchi. For more business news, do log on to mydoonline.com/business. Israel Lai comes back with more news. Do stay.
Business news was.
This is Joy News Prime, and we move on to our other stories. Managers of the Student Loan Trust Fund are being asked to increase the maximum amount that could be loaned out to beneficiaries. Introduced as a replacement for a previous SNATE loan scheme, tertiary students can draw up to 1,600 cedis a year. But speaking at the launch of the 10 years anniversary of the fund, NUC's president, Prosper Jiche, says the amount is inadequate.
The Student Loan Trust Fund, which started in 2005, has so far benefited 80,000 tertiary students. Though described as largely better managed than the SNATE loan scheme, the loan amounts have not kept pace with the increasing cost of education. This, the National Union of Ghana Students says, needs to be addressed.
We believe that looking at the rate at which funding tertiary education is becoming very increasing, it will be better for us to be able to increase the component of the loan that is given to the student.
Minister of Education Professor Jane Nana Opoku Ajiman is, on the other hand, concerned about the failure of some beneficiaries to pay back their loans.
Major thing we can do to improve is to pay back. 10 years, let us calculate how much money has been given. And let us see what is the rate of repayment. In the next 10 years, we should have a revolving fund. We should move to the level where the repayments are enough to energize the fund and even to reach more people.
It was suggested at the stakeholders meeting that the fund find a way to direct its loans to those who really need it, as there was no such differentiator at the moment. Its chief executive assured the fund is working on such a policy.
You must understand that we are in an era of scarce resources, and we also must recognize that the economy of Ghana has improved significantly. A lot of people are migrating into a middle-income family, and so it is fair to say that the people who have enough resources at home should leave the fund for people who are more vulnerable to get more. It is just a fair way of distributing fairly the national cake. So we have already started something like that by the means testing that we are doing. The means testing ensures that the information you are putting in decides how much you get. So you can be a medical student and you will get less than somebody who is pursuing a humanities course, for example. So the amount you get is based on your unique characteristic and not based on the school you are in, which is a step in the right direction.
Shilana Buama also revealed that her outfit is mapping out new technology to make repayment convenient for beneficiaries.
Former President John Kufuor has advised Ghanaians to put personal interests aside and live above themselves in order to leave a legacy for future generations. The former president was speaking at the Bishop Usu Tebri Memorial Lecture in Accra to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the passing of the founder of the Bethel Prayer Ministry International.
Undoubtedly, the desire to leave a legacy is what orders our character and makes us prefer the public good over individual selfish choices. It will reveal the love, the kindness, the compassion, the generosity, the brotherliness, and indeed the virtuous qualities required of us as God's creation that Jesus sought of us in asking us to be each our brother's keeper. So, ladies and gentlemen, one's legacy left behind is the residue of a life well lived. Your influence will come from who you are, authentically at the core. To leave a legacy, you should seek that the measurement of your value and life's purpose be other and higher than by emphasis on material accomplishments, physical wealth, social recognition, prestige, acclaim, power, or position. you will appreciate and endear yourself to the maxim, and we have it in our traditions and histories. I'm talking of native traditions, that good name is better than riches.
Bishop Usu Tebri died in 2005 after overseeing the expansion of a local ministry from Ghana to many parts of the world. It's our time to bring you the JNITs, and Ifwa Kwahari is here. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Israel. How would you feel about getting paid for the time you spend driving to and from work?
That'd be lovely.
That would be lovely.
That would be lovely.
And I think a lot of people think...
Except in our case, it's not going to apply because we're not paid by the hour.
See what people are saying?
It will be an incentive to that employee to be able to work efficiently and even not take much of affecting his pocket.
So this gentleman thinks that it will be an incentive for
lovely
him.
Idea.
Do you agree? Yes, a lovely idea.
It's not going to work for us. I told you, in our case, because we're not paid by the hour, it's not going to count, actually.
I will tell you why we want to talk about this within the hour. My name is Ifwa Akwa-Harrison. Join me on Joy News Interactive on Facebook, on Twitter, and on WhatsApp. It's Joy News on TV, and our WhatsApp number is 0560800000. Over to you, Israel.
Right, so that will be the end of our first hour on Joy News Prime. The second hour begins in a moment.
Is Joy News Prime.
Welcome to the second hour of Joy News Prime, and this is where we bring you a recap of the top stories we've been looking at in the past hour. And our very first story, some 14 circuit court judges and magistrates implicated in a recent expose by ACE investigative journalist Barima Osei Asare have initiated legal action to challenge the disciplinary processes against them. The 14 of the 22 Charles Kwesi Bentum, the judges are seeking a declaration from the Supreme Court that the action breaches the law. They say they were not given enough time to respond after they were served letters of suspension on September 8 and asked to respond the same day. Meanwhile, legal practitioner Kojogan Adawudu says the indicted justices have a very right to challenge the process. Mr. Adawudu, who was speaking on today's big story, said it is only fair for the judges to seek legal redress as the allegations against them are serious.
Saying that they were not heard, they were not given the benefit of a fair trial, being heard until they were suspended.
Okay.
Now, it is on the principle that you have to listen to two parties, the sides of the story, the two parties.
But the tape clearly shows that you're taking bribe, which is a crime.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't really.
Okay.
The fact that somebody gives an envelope to somebody,
okay,
you don't know what's the content, and the picture is taken. What they are saying is that they were just given letter, there's not been established any misconduct, nothing, and they were not given any opportunity. All that they had was that you have been invited, you've been given a letter that replied to this allegation before the suspension was done.
Right.
And you know, administrative setup, or everywhere you work, it is believed that when there is any issue, you should be given a query, you answer the query before you will be suspended.
Right.
Now that's the government they are looking at. Now if you look at the committee itself, because it is a disciplinary committee of the Judicial Council, the law allows them that they should do it. Okay. And they have also raised an issue and saying that without even listening to me, you suspended me.
And you've not even shown me evidence of why you are suspending me. I haven't even
seen the tape.
Okay. So what will that mean to any disciplinary process, you know, against them?
I think what they are seeking is that if the committee continues, anything that the committee would do, they would come and raise legal issues and say that we were not given a fair trial, we were not given the opportunity. So they are saying that even the initial process was started on a wrong footing.
Meanwhile, the police administration says it is taking note of recent developments in the judicial service of the allegation of corruption against some judges and some judicial staff, and is in touch with the Attorney General's office on the matter. The communications director of the New Patriotic Party says recent recommendations of disciplinary action against the party's national chairman does not amount to an automatic sanction, as has been misconstrued by a section of the media. The NPP's Council of Elders, in a letter addressed to the national chairman, Paul Afoko, asked that he be made to step aside for flouting some of the party's guidelines. Director of Communications Nana Kumia, however, explains to Joy News the proposed sanction is only a recommendation at this point, and that Mr. Afoko may be exonerated.
No, the national chairman of the NPP has not been suspended. The National Council of Elders does not have the authority to suspend anybody. The procedure in the party is that if you believe that a member of the party has misconducted themselves and brought the party's name into disrepute, there's a procedure. The procedure is that you put your complaint into writing and any evidence that you have, and you send it to the National Disciplinary Committee. It is the National Disciplinary Committee that will go into your petition, look at your complaints, examine your evidence. Of course, it has to go by natural justice. Speak to yourself to allow you to present your evidence and your story. It will speak to the person that a complaint has been made against, and then at the end of the day, the disciplinary committee will take a decision. They may decide that looking at the nature of the complaint and the evidence, they didn't think that there was any need for any sanctions.
Meanwhile, spokesperson of the national chairman of the NPP says Mr. Paul Afoko is ready to meet with the party's disciplinary committee to respond to the allegations leveled against him by the party's Council of Elders. Speaking to Joy News earlier, spokesperson Barima Osei said the party chairman is ready and willing to appear before the disciplinary committee should he be invited. In a related development, a political scientist at the University of Ghana has described a decision by the National Council of the Opposition New Patriotic Party to suspend the party's, to take steps to suspend the party's chairman Paul Afoko and General Secretary Kwabena Jopong as harsh. Dr. Evans Agridaku says the decision by the NEC may affect the chances of the NPP in the 2016 election. He's asking the NEC to call for ceasefire in the current fracas instead and start a process to cleanse the party of people who do not share in the ideologies of the party.
Too harsh, you understand? It's too harsh. A call for ceasefire, perhaps, a la maybe what the flag bearer himself, called for, would have been, in my candid opinion, would have been appropriate. But as I said, we still also have to give the Council of Elders the benefit of the doubt. They may be privy to some information that we may not be privy to, and therefore the conclusions that we may arrive at may be totally different from the conclusion they may arrive at. But at least looking at what the happenings within the party, I was saying that there have been too many breaches by too many actors, and meanwhile these people are walking around as free party members. So don't forget that the chairman also has a constituency. He has his own support base within the party, whether you like it or not. And of course, politics is a game of numbers, so you are counting on the numbers too. But of course, if you have a group of people who have become destructive or who become destructive, you better do without them than to go with them and continue to create problems within the party. So one thing is a number of things that are likely to happen. One, you may be interested in individuals, supporters who would think that their chairman has not been fairly treated, and therefore they may continue to create problems or foment trouble within the party. That is one. The second issue will be that the chairman himself may feel too aggrieved, and therefore will think that the party if he is going down, then he has to go down with the party.
President John Mahama will still have his face on a ballot paper during the November 7 presidential and parliamentary primaries of the National Democratic Congress, despite being the only candidate to have successfully filed his nomination to contest the flag bearership of the party. This was after the only other contender, George Boateng, failed to complete the nomination process. General Secretary Johnson Yesidu Nketia disclosed this at a media briefing in Accra on Friday.
As at the close of day yesterday, we had only one presidential candidate filing to contest the elections. But contrary to what happens with the parliamentary elections, in the case of the presidential elections, even if one candidate filed, he cannot be declared unopposed. We still have to go through the elections and to ensure ourselves that the presidential candidate will garner more than 50% of the votes before he or she can be declared the duly elected presidential candidate of the party. We will be meeting. I don't think, speaking for myself, I don't think there will be any big need. But since that is the law, the decision would have to be taken by the National Executive and not me as a person.
He stated the party will in the coming days begin the vetting of parliamentary aspirants who managed to file their nominations before the September 10 deadline. The party puts the total number of aspirants at 689, excluding aspirants in the Ashanti region where the closing date has been extended. Now, elsewhere, an engineer, the Defense Minister Benjamin Kufuor, incarnate member of Parliament for Nandom, will not be seeking re-election come 2016. Though the MP picked forms to contest the parliamentary primaries of the National Democratic Congress in the constituency, the forms had not been returned at the close of filing of nominations on Thursday. Also out of the parliamentary list is a soft-spoken member of Parliament for Dafiema Busie Isa constituency, Matthias Posa. Rafiq Salam reports 34 aspirants in all, including 3 women, filed their nominations to contest the NDC's parliamentary primaries in the Upper West region. And then in the Northern region, an engineer at the Department of Feeder Roads of the Ministry of Roads and Highways, Alhaji Ibrahim Seidu, successfully filed his nomination on Thursday to contest Sector Minister Alhaji Nusa Hussaini in the Tamale Central constituency primaries of the National Democratic Congress. The completion of the process sets the stage for a very keen contest between the two come November. In other news, some fishermen in coastal communities of Keta in the Volta region are increasingly getting worried about the dwindling fortunes of their industry. Many of them say they are living a life of misery because fishing is no more lucrative. Some even say the situation is robbing them of their dignity as their wives are abandoning them. Joy News' Fred Kwame Asare visited the coastal communities and filed this report.
About 90% of families in these communities are predominantly fisher folks and depend on fishing for livelihood, while the rest engage in irrigation farming. The fishing vocation, which they inherited from their forefathers, has been the anchor of their families, providing them food, shelter and clothing. The fishermen, who now find it difficult providing the needs of their families, outline the exorbitant price and irregular supply of premix fuel, climate change, high cost of fishing inputs, among others, as some challenges to their fishing business, coupled with recurrent poor catch. One could preempt that this occurrence implies that prices of marine products will ascend in the coming months. With the look on the face of these fishermen sitting under this tree, one could tell how passionate they feel about the current phenomenon. They returned from their fishing expeditions since morning, but could not go home because they have not made any single catch, and consequently indicating there will be no food at home for their families. The fishermen disclosed they have been experiencing very low catch, returning ashore with virtually empty nets filled with seaweed for about 3 to 4 months. They added that this phenomenon has made life unbearable for them since they can't finance the upkeep of their families and pay their ward school fees. Zeus Zemeji explained that their fishing business is no longer profitable, adding that their wives are divorcing them.
We no longer have good catch as we used to.
our businesses are collapsing. The high price of premixed fuel is killing our business, and it is not always available. We want the government to do something about it for us. Because our income level has gone down, our wives have also started divorcing us and migrating to Accra with the mindset that there's more job and money in the national capital.
Kwaku Miesu, who has also been fishing for over 40 years, appealed to government to provide them with the necessary fishing inputs.
I've been fishing for over 40 years. As you can see, we no longer catch fishes but weeds. The climate change has seriously affected us. The government says we shouldn't use rubber nets, but has failed to provide us with the requisite fishing input. We will be happy if the government will make available the necessary fishing input to enable us have good catch.
Fred Kwame Asare's report for Joy News.
All right, so at this point, the bulletin begins to get a lot more exciting and more interactive as Miss G joins me with entertainment. Stay tuned. Miss G is here. Good evening, Miss G.
Good evening, Israel.
Looking lovely as usual. And this one, what's it called?
It's a necklace.
This necklace.
It's a necklace.
Yeah, but doesn't it have a name?
Well, it's made with buttons. I need to ask the designer what the name is.
Maybe button necklace.
Maybe. But you know, I'm looking this way because yesterday you said to me that I did too many Nigerian stories. So I decided to dress Nigerian for you today.
All right, that's okay. So what's coming up in there?
You know, I have a lot coming up for you, but Becca has been responding to you, you know.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, she has a project that she's talking about. So I decided to tell her that Easy has been worried about her. So I'll bring you all that. And then, you know, it's been 10 years since actress Susie Williams passed.
Yes, Susie Williams.
Yes. It looks like we've all forgotten, but one person who remembers her is Yvonne Nelson. So I'll tell you that as well.
Right.
All right, so Ghana's Afro-pop singer Becca has been selected among 16 other great African singers to record an all-African song titled Everybody. The song tells everybody aims at inspiring young people to know their rights encompassed in 17 goals and hold their governments accountable to deliver on their promises. An excited project she talks about.
We all know, I think sometime in 2000, the year 2000, a few leaders gathered together to come up with the Millennium Development Goals, and it was given 15 years. This year marks the 15th year. Now, a lot of the projects were not being able to execute because I think they were just too strict and, of course, too tight. Now, these 8 goals have been broken down into 17 goals, which means there's enough room and time, and it's been broken into different sessions so we can tackle one of them, get rid of it, and move to the other. But the most important thing right now is that they have 3 extraordinary goals that they have set on to execute in the next 15 years. Now, this includes one which of course means a lot to me, which is inequality and injustice, gender inequality. That has to be eradicated. Of course, extreme poverty. We're looking at getting rid of that in the next 15 years. Definitely getting rid of poverty in all African countries. And of course, we have the last one, which is climate change. Now, climate change is a new thing that has been added because truly looking at it now, the environment is so polluted and it's causing so much illnesses, and a lot of things are going on. Bad water, a lot of diseases are spreading because of climate change. And so these 3 extraordinary goals have been put in there, and we're looking at getting rid of it in the next 15 years.
Right, so impressive projects, all right. But I noticed that Becca is wearing some of this button necklace thing we're just talking about.
Yeah, it's in vogue. It's in vogue.
It's in vogue.
Yes, you need to get your wife one, you know.
Okay, she likes it actually.
All right, but you know, like I told you, I've been asking Becca about what's the whole PDA between she and Bisa. I actually told her that you were worried.
Yes.
Yes, I told her. Yes, I did.
And what
tell
did she
her.
say?
Oh, she has a response for you, Easy.
All right, let me hear it.
Jalai is worried about you and Mr. Keda. What's up with both of you?
Why is he worried though?
Because we see a lot of PDA between 2 of you. What's happening with Mr. Keda and Becca?
Bisa is a very good friend of mine. We share a lot in common and we get along, and so every time we're together, it's just sparkles and sparks and shine.
So relationship brewing sometimes.
We definitely have a relationship going because we're doing music together, and so
anything extra.
That's for the future if anything happens. But so far as I'm concerned, we're friends, very good friends.
Angel.
She's avoiding the question.
No, but you know what she said? Excitingly, she says, you know, if anything happens in future, that's it.
Yeah, but she should tell us now. Maybe there's something going on like now.
It's like, you know, she leaves us, you know, wanting to know what more there is to she and Mr. Kade. And making you more jealous, actually.
I probably have to reach out to her myself.
You do. You really need to. You really need to. But you know, the wedding bells are ringing for Cartel, Big J, and Sally. We said that already.
Yes.
Now,
And that was another instance where you said I was getting too close to Sally. I actually have a photo. Myself and Sally. I'll show it. I'll show it later. Let's just go.
All right, but Cartel passed through multimedia today, and he's been talking about his wedding with Sally and also his new song titled "Wedding."
Okay.
Wedding dear Emma any J. Wedding dear Emma ahunta. Wedding dear Emma any J. And when it's all back, I thought, don't know. On us, what can I do? Obedona go see area, yeah. And when it's all back, I thought, don't know. On us, what can I do? Obedona go see area, yeah. Yeah, Wedding is a song I did like close to a year ago, but I just felt the time was right, you know, since I'm also gonna get wed. I felt that the time is right for me to drop that song too. So it's not. It was not written for the wedding actually, but it's a song. I love song I wrote close to a year ago, and today I feel the time is right for me to drop it. So that's why I'm dropping it. Why people keep asking this question? That are you under any pressure? No, I've been dating Sally for close to 6 years. It's just right. I mean, when you start any relationship, that you should see it to the end, and that's exactly what I'm doing now.
All right, so you know what? I'm going to post that photograph I took with Sally. So then, when you see Big J again, you can ask him about it. He'll tell you. It's cool.
I can tell him that Sally is a fine babe. All right, so actress Yvonne Nelson unfortunately did not meet the late string goddess Susie Williams before her untimely demise, but she has been sharing some kind words about the late actress. Tuesday, September 8, 2015 was exactly 10 years since the beautiful actress Susie Williams passed away after a brutal accident. This is what Yvonne Nelson had to say on her Instagram page in memory of the late actress.
We never met, but I used to admire your works from a distance, and I still do. You were beautiful, glowing, and loved. Little did we know you were going to leave us that soon. We love you, but we didn't have the power to make you stay. Indeed, if 1,000 words and 1,000 tears could bring you back, we would have done that by now. I have always imagined how things would have been if you were still here, Susie, but God knows best. We will forever miss you. Rest in peace, Susie Williams. The industry hardly talks about you, but I promise I'll do that from today. I know you are in heaven. R.I.P. # 10 years. Those are the words coming from actress Yvonne Nelson paying her tribute to the late Susie Williams.
Well, in view of these, we took to the street to find out from some fans what they remember of the late actress Susie Williams.
To remember Susie Williams, she's a very good actor, and how she acts, it's very nice. It makes we the public feel good.
Remember acting, it says like she's a very sexy actor, and then the way she dresses, the way she looks, and then the way she talks. That's what I can remember.
What I know about her is she pushes when she's like, I don't know how to put it, she's active in movies and stuff.
But at that time, she was pushing the kind of acting now some of the actresses are having. She was the one pushing it higher, but only God knows.
I actually recall the death of Susie Williams. I 10 years ago, I was just about 5 years into my career as a journalist, and I had to go and cover the accident.
Wow.
And I spoke to the dad. I went to the police station because there was a guy involved, that librarian guy, who was said to have caused the accident. I mean, they said they were into drugs and all that. It's been a long time, but it all of a sudden just coming back to me like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I miss Susie Williams.
But what fond memories do you have of her?
For me, this is one beautiful actress who had her life cut short way too early.
True.
Yeah.
May her soul rest
in perfect peace. Now, because of all that's been going on about Big J and their wedding and Becca and this, what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to be posting photos. Okay, the first one. So I've gotten the photo of myself and Sally.
Of the fine babe.
Of the fine babe. Hey. And we're going to post it. The director, please, Mr. Director, put it up. Okay, there it goes on my Instagram page.
Big J Cattell, good evening to you.
Big J Cattell, I mean, Big J, you know, I know you and I know Sally. And Cattell, Big J, I know you.
And you're going to be there on your wedding day on the 26th of September. And then...
You have a fine woman.
Anyway, the former chief executive of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation and renowned lawyer Chachu Chikata has hailed the impact made by his rapper son, Manifest, in the music industry. Manifest, born Kwame Ametefe Chikata, is touted by a large section of Ghanaians as the best lyricist in the musical landscape.
The interview says he's very proud of what his son has achieved with his music talent. He said, and I quote, "I'm very proud of him. I don't have a fraction of the talent he has. I enjoy his music and his lyrics, and I think he's making waves." Manifest recently made Ghana proud at this year's International Songwriting Competition.
And I love Manifest tracks. Some way be.
You see, and the Absunians are so happy that he keeps mentioning them in his songs. I wish I was an Absu.
You can't be an Absu.
I know I cannot be an Absu. But you know,
you're Miss G.
Well, but you know, yesterday I told you the fact that rapper Sarkodie was in the studios of Hits 103.9 with Dr. Pounds, and I told you that Pounds tried to rap. And Sarkodie rapped along with him. And then, you know the funny thing, Sarkodie told him when Pound asked him to do a collaboration with him that he says, if I do a collaboration with you, I'll have to start paying people 50 Ghana cedis each to buy our album. Let's take a look at it.
If I stay indoor for long and I get bored, I start writing.
Dr. Po, and then I been condo. Check me from up on in your two toe. We didn't have remember what you say, Po, and then I come for me a photo.
Oh, no, I have one in the check. What do you see in the movie? And I'm going to take an assault panic show.
This was some diss, man.
But we could try something, Israel, I'm in the studio with you. Oh, then you say, oh. All right, so that's it for entertainment this evening.
Thank you very much, Miss G.
All right.
Thank you, and that's it for entertainment. But up next, we bring you sports. Please stay tuned.
Entertainment news was brought to you.
It's time for sports, and Kwame Jumajemang is here. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Izzy.
Kwame Jumajemang. Come on, Swansea.
Oh, you're a Swansea fan?
No, I'm not. But because of the day,
everyone is not a Swansea fan. Well, it's a good time to be a Swansea fan because a lot seems to be happening there.
Yeah. I mean,
that's how we are, you know.
Congratulations to him, actually. Please carry on.
Andre Dedeayu is the name on everyone's lips at the moment after he was voted Player of the Month in England. Remember, this is his first season in the English Premier League, and he's been credited and his teammates for this award. Congratulations to Andre Dedeayu for winning the Player of the Month in England, but it's not the same story for Emmanuel Adebayo as we speak. The player failed to agree a deal with West Ham and Aston Villa on deadline. His manager has now come out to say that the player is not a part of his plans. Spurs, we move on to Manchester United. The big news coming in from the camp ahead of their crucial game against Liverpool is that David De Gea has signed a new deal that would fetch him up to £200,000 a week. His manager is delighted with the new contract. Coming up in the English Premier League later this weekend, and I'm sure there are games in there that we are all looking forward to. Some crucial games that I can't wait for later tomorrow. Everton will be playing Chelsea, big game at tea time, and of course the big one, Man United will be playing Liverpool later on Sunday as well. And if you're looking forward to seeing your team in action, well, just check the fixtures out, and you'd get to see who will be playing later this weekend. Let's get to see the games coming up in the Spanish La Liga as well. Football Club Barcelona together with Real Madrid all in action this weekend. Barca playing Atletico Madrid at their Estadio Vicente Calderón, with Real Madrid playing Espanyol at the Conea El Prat. Let's get to see the games that are coming up in the Italian Serie A this weekend as well. The big one, of course, is the Derby della Madonnina between Milan and Inter. That game will be played later this weekend. Juventus, remember, are looking forward to their first win of the season. They'll be playing in Chievo Verona together with other fixtures that are coming up later this weekend. And away from all that happening in the major European leagues, let's come home and do the games coming up in the First Capital Plus Premier League. It's match day 30 here in Ghana. Let's have a look again. Olympics playing Ashgood. Remember, Ashgood already championed. Other games to look forward to in the Kotoko playing Diana Stars and New Debiase playing Heart of Lions. But before we move on, the league standings is what everyone is talking about. The first half seems to be very much sorted. It's the last three here. That's Bichim United, Great Olympics and BA United that will be playing on match day 30. BA United almost relegated as we speak. Well, let's do some action from the US Open now. The Serena Slam is over as we speak. Roberta Vinci is the lady who ensured that, as you see the pictures right on your screen about. That's it for sports.